Good morning, everybody. How we doing? Sammy, United People's TV. It's Friday. We're playing tomorrow. We can actually talk about Manchester United playing a game of football until we don't want to talk about United playing a game of football after, maybe we lose against Everton. Quickly close my notifications there. Go over there. Right, okay, let's start again. Just when I think I've got all my notifications completely set up perfectly and properly. Nope. Anyway. Now that I'm not going to get distracted by all of those. Welcome aboard. Hopefully I'm going to be in a better mood today. I think I will be in a better mood. Yesterday it became ever so slightly overwhelming. Let's close that. Let's turn that upside down. Let's unplug that. Let's focus on this. We're going to run through the Europa League draw, which is happening in a couple of hours. Who can United face? We'll run through the full bracket. I'm also going to run through articles from The Telegraph, from Daily Mail, from ESPN, on Ineos' first year at United. Quite a few stories coming out, and there's an interesting question and that I want to have with you this morning around the cuts and around when is too much. I think it's going to be an interesting conversation. We'll also then speak about the game against Everton. 12:30 kickoff tomorrow, our last game at Goodison Park. Everton are in pretty decent form. And as always, you're going to let me know what you think in the comments below. Let's have a quick look who's here. Good morning to Ant. The beanie of calm wisdom. I wouldn't call it that. I would not call it that today. But good morning to you. Stephanie, good morning to you. We've got Carl. We've got... Who else is down in the comments? Josh, I'm sure you're here. Shax, I can see you there, dude. Gifting 5 memberships. Good morning to you. Feels nicer than yesterday. Saeed, good morning to you. Miles, we've got Ricky Rex. We've got Ricky Rex. Sounds like a band. Kevin, we've got Toby, Foxy, and Christian. Now, this wastes absolutely no time getting into the show, and we're going to be focusing on the Europa League to kick it off, okay? Toby, I can see you gifting 10 as well down there. Alex, I'm sure you'll be getting involved with me soon. Again, ladies and gents, just through sheer workload, that's all it is. The community still isn't getting the attention I want it to have. It's just kind of what happens when you take on as many things as I've taken on. There's going to be certain things that just get delayed, and that is one of them. Now, let's run through the games that happened yesterday, all right? Because, Ajax nearly got knocked out. They were 2-0 down and down to 10 men, and they just about snuck it with a penalty in extra time. Fenerbahce went through on aggregate against Anderlecht. Sociedad absolutely pumped Midtjylland. Victoria Pleasant went through. Roma, they knocked out Porto. So Porto are out of the Europa League. Bodo Glimt breezed past Twente. FC Steaua Bucharest, they won as well. And Galatasaray were knocked out by AZ Alkmaar. And it leaves the bracket looking a little bit like this. All right? So, you can see Manchester United over... Where are we? We're on both sides of the bracket. We're down here at the bottom on both sides. And the two teams that we could face are AZ Alkmaar and Real Sociedad. Now, I don't really think I need to ask anybody in the comments, but I'll ask anyway. Who do you want to face? Or who do you want to draw? Because you can see now the routes to the final. If Manchester United, it's just behind me down here. If Man United were to get Real Sociedad and were to win that game, we would face either Lyon or Frankfurt or Steaua Bucharest in the quarterfinal on that side of the bracket. Flip it to the other side. If United were to be drawn against Alkmaar, we'd face Ajax, Frankfurt or Lyon in the quarterfinal. So what we will find out today is what the entire route to the final would be. But Galatasaray now are out. Porto are out. Feels like such an opportunity for United, this. I mean, look, there's still tough teams in there. You've still got Roma. You've still got Lazio. Who else we got? Ajax. Lyon, Frankfurt. I mean, you back United against both of those. You've got Lazio. Did I mention them? You've got Athletic Club. There are some decent teams in here. I can see down there in the chat. Everybody wants Alkmaar. And of course you do. We've all got PTSD about Sociedad. Kind of got PTSD about Spanish teams, really. Spanish teams got our number, man. 7 games. 7 hyper-competitive games we've got. And if we can win all 7 of those, it changes what could happen next season. Akash saying, I fear there's too much pressure to win the Europa League. Why is it it's where pressure at other clubs would be seen as a positive thing. To a certain degree, it always is. But the only reason that there is pressure on United to win the Europa League is because the players have been so crap. The team has been so crap that we're 15th in the league and we've got nothing else to look for. That's why there's more pressure, because the pressure's been put on themselves. If we were performing and we were third in the Premier League, the Europa League would be looked at as well, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? It's not really the focus, though. But it would be nice. The reason there's more pressure is because it's self-induced pressure. We're 15th. We can't score for toffee. We're nowhere in the league. Yeah, sure, we're in the FA Cup, but winning the FA Cup, is that no, it won't change a thing. The Europa League won't make this season a success, and no one's ever going to claim that as a United fan. But it can change what the roadmap looks like next season. The Europa League, and it's weird to say this, winning the Europa League is more important to next season than it is to this season. Changes the trajectory of what we can do. You see what you're saying down here in the comments. Teresa saying AZ will be tough. They're still a good young team. AZ never underestimate the opponent. Of course, the conversation would then switch, Richie, from, okay, thank God we've avoided Real Sociedad to, don't just pretend that we're going to win this game without even playing well. It's not what anyone would suggest. I forgot about that penalty for Martinez. Was that when he flew in for a tackle and it bounced off his knee and then hit his elbow? I think that was it. It was ridiculous. If United pushes for the Europa League completely, is there a chance of relegation? I've said this since day one. I know that it's entertaining for fans of other clubs. I know it's entertaining for everyone to think, United are going to get relegated. United have never been in a relegation scrap. We're not in a relegation scrap. You've literally got Southampton, Ipswich and Leicester all down there. And it's grim that we're this close and teetering on the edge, but we've never been involved in that conversation. You need to win like 4 games in what? How many games have you got left now? I don't know how many games you've got left. Yeah, Lone Wolf. Look, the money. And again, it's as United fans, we've had to become accountants over these last few years. We've had to become like business operators over these last few years. In reality, all we want to care about is who's starting, are we going to score goals, move on to the next game. But now we've got to think about the financial impacts of signing players, the amortization of a player, and how long you can spread that cost for. How much are his wages? How much did we pay for him? What about the winning money that you get for the Europa League? How often is that? Do you get that in 1 payment? Do you get that in 3 payments? Do you get that up front? Do you have to wait until the end of the season? It's just... It's not what being a football fan should be, but it is what being a Manchester United fan is right now. Someone down there, I don't think we will, just don't think we can rule it out. Hey, look, if you want to entertain, I don't know, I don't think anybody would want to entertain relegation, but if that's a conversation that you really want to just sort of go down and explore and debate as to whether it will happen, then you're like, you do you. Totally fine. I'm not getting involved in that. Because United will not be involved in anything to do with that. It will just go down as the worst season that we've had in the Premier League. The season after, we've had our worst season in the Premier League. Fun times. Now, before we move on to... Actually, no, I want to quickly speak about this, actually. Mentioned this yesterday. I'll mention it again now. Robin van Persie is going to be coming in as a new Feyenoord head coach. I think that's pretty cool. Also makes me feel old AF. If I'm being totally honest. He's now 41, I think. It's going to be interesting to see how he gets on. 1 second, just quickly got to set something up on my screen. That's better. Right, cool. Yeah, well, good luck to him. That's what I'll say. Let me close that as well. I'm trying a new setup on my screens today. I think that's better. Yeah, that is much, much better. There we go, people. Now we can focus. Graham saying, even though we're in a difficult time, I still think we can win the Europa League. Got a great chance. I mean, you do have a great chance. if you're looking at that, we're going to have one last little conversation about the Europa before we move on. Well, you've only got to look at who finished where in the bracket, really. Lazio were top. Athletic Club were second. They lost to Besiktas, didn't they? Was that Ollie's first game in charge? I think it was. Rangers, I know they gave us a tough game, but, well, I wouldn't like facing Rangers at the Ibrox, tell you that. Are United still favourites to win this thing? I haven't checked that in a while. Europa League outright winners. That's quite funny. Spurs. Spurs are above United. Actually, no. 9-2. Does that mean we're lower? 4.5 to 1. Spurs are 5 to 1. I'm kind of in between. So this is what they've got it down as in terms of the bookies' favourites. Spurs, United, Athletic Club, Lazio, Real Sociedad, Eintracht Frankfurt, Roma, Fenerbahce, Ajax. But United right up there at the top. I don't know why Spurs are favourites with the bookies. But saying that, I wouldn't know why United would be favourites with the bookies either. Somehow, we're still favourites. Mad days. Given how we've been playing. Somehow mad. Stu, yeah, fair enough. Probably because they've beaten us 3 times this season. I try not to remember these things. It's important not to remember these things. Makes you feel better. Yeah, let's find out. The draw is at 12. I won't be doing a live show, but I'll pop a post into the community chat, all right? On Discord and also on YouTube too. Now, yesterday, we dropped the latest video from United People's Productions, and as expected, absolutely nobody watched it. And this is always... I'll be honest, ladies and gents, if I can explain, just from my perspective of sort of running United People's TV, this is exactly why no other channel has done videos like this. What's that on my screen? Consistently, regularly. Because they're expensive to make, and they're always a risk. Because when it comes to the right videos to do for United fans, it's all completely dictated by what happens every week with the result. And given the mood around the United fan base right now, I knew that video nobody was going to watch it. But I believed in the video. And it was a video that sort of, I hoped, put an end to the Pep Guardiola and Sir Alex Ferguson conversation. So we're going to keep this up, doing one of these per week, no matter what's going on with United, because I hope that video offered a little bit of light relief from the doom and gloom that exists everywhere. But yeah, that's why so many channels don't do videos like this on a consistent basis. Because why would you do that? Why would you take the risk on doing an expensive video like that when you can just follow and react to what's going on in the news? That's just me sort of giving you a little bit of an insight into my thinking, the thought process. Now, hopefully one that we're going to have next week, which I think you'll all enjoy, is a video dedicated to Andy Cole, who I think is one of the most disrespected strikers that there is in the Premier League. Like, you don't hear Andy Cole in any conversations to do with Shearer or Henry or Rooney, despite the fact that he's always been right up there with all of them. So that'll hopefully be going out next week, and I think lots of you will enjoy that. Anyway, let's move on to... I don't know what to call this anymore now. Just the... I don't know. Let me read some of your comments before I've got to go into that, because I don't want to speak about that. Kind of appreciate dude saying, watch it, Sam, very good vid. When you factor in Aberdeen, yeah, the Aberdeen for me is the trump card with any Fergie conversation. Like, his achievements with Aberdeen they're not his most impressive, given what he did at United, but they are equally as impressive for differing reasons. Cole was my most exciting signing ever, says Volpes. Oh, look at that. Yeah, that's what the video is going to be, showing Andy Cole a bit of love. And that's got a banging song in that one. I'm really enjoying using the licensed songs. It's cool. It's 11 videos up. Anyway, I was gonna do a lunchtime video on this today, and I'm sitting there pre-live because I have to get the intros sort of organised before the live show. I was like, I mean, I could do a video on this because there's lots and lots of good information. There's way more than I'm going to be able to cover in the live show here today. But I'm like, does anybody really want to know that? And I kind of feel like this conversation, we only need to have this once, and we'll do it in the live show. So if you haven't read this, I'll drop the link down here. This is from James Ducker. It's from the Telegraph. And it is a year on from Ineos taking 27% of Manchester United. What's happened in that first year? And there's loads and loads of stories. And I want to run through a few of them. And I want to have a conversation with you. I want to ask you a question, right? Because some of these stories are... Well, they're just grim reading, aren't they? These are just little snippets from the article, right? Tasks have extended to having to individually count cartons of screws at their disposal at Carrington to make sure that no one's over-ordering. The instance of a big stationery order being placed by a member of staff at Carrington only for the sellotape to be returned because it was not considered a necessity at that time. Staff have noted how the portion sizes in the canteen at Old Trafford are smaller now, and there is less variety. Ratcliffe's tight grip on outgoings extends to Omar Barada, who anytime he wants to spend over 25 grand needs to get sign-off from above him. And that part down there, morale among staff is widely described as being on the floor. Angry, disillusioned and fearful rank-and-file employees feel it has reached a point where they are paying the price not just for the litany of the Glazers wasting money, but also because of what Ineos have done. And my question to you is this, right? How far is too far? Like, honestly, like you see stuff like this, and you can laugh about it if you want. Siraj, you're saying you think the sign off on Barada feels like bullshit. I've read that at least 2 times before over the last few months. I don't think it is, but it's laughable, isn't it? And it's true at the same time. Man United's revenues in the region of 600 to 700 million, and we're making sure that people aren't over-ordering sellotape. It's almost austerity levels of cuts. And this is, like James, you're saying, Sam, do you believe all that nonsense? James Ducker is somebody who's, over a good amount of years now, has built up a reputation for being a reliable journalist. Is he perfect? No, is he? But do I think he's got sources inside a very disgruntled Carrington? Like, you're damn right he does, man. It's surely, I imagine, right now, it's the easiest time to get information from Carrington than ever before because you've got hundreds of pissed off people. If you imagine the amount of people that A, got made redundant, B, might be getting made redundant, or C, is just working inside United and just being like a fearful of their job. It's going to be easier as a journalist to be able to get information in that environment than before. But my question to you is this, right? I'll pull up this photo. How far is too far with cuts? And how do you make that decision? Because like you can laugh at these things if you want, right? And kind of so you should. Like when United are sitting there looking around the back of the sofa for £1. It's embarrassing. But not as embarrassing as Manchester United Football Club losing over 100 million last year. Not as embarrassing as Manchester United Football Club losing money consecutively for 5 years of accounts. Not as embarrassing as Manchester United not winning the Premier League since 2013, and not as embarrassing as Manchester United not winning the Champions League since 2008, or with us being 15th in the league. How much is too much? Like, how do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line? It's a thing that I've just been thinking about, because surely that's completely down to opinion, isn't it? In terms of where you draw the line of saying, oh, no, that's we can cut that, but no, that right there is untouchable. Right? Let me see what you're saying down here. Paul, yeah, it does, and we knew this already, saying just shows you how bad things are. We were all aware of this. We knew that the cuts were coming. It's just when it gets to the granular details of it all, it sounds a lot worse, doesn't it? Antisocial saying, not far enough. Cost cutting is needed to reflect our position. You can't be broke and want to live like Elon Musk. Well, I kind of mentioned this the other day when I said United are, as a football club, have a cost base that is a Champions League cost base. Wages, staff members, everything that we do, facilities, blah, blah, blah. Running costs are Champions League level, and our income is Europa League level. It has been for a few years. That doesn't match. Banley saying, I've worked for 2 companies who made cuts like this. Both are still in business and doing well, but it took time. In a bloated environment, you'd be amazed the difference, quote unquote, sellotape can make. And Jonas asking a question down there saying, what is the alternative? I don't really think there is one. Right? I'm going to run through... Oh, one sec. Hey, mate, Daily Mail articles are just such a grim user experience to read. You've got to go through like 469 adverts and scroll for about 3 years to actually read it. And down there with something that is absolutely true. The only line that seems to matter is the profit line. And that's where the human element is not butting heads, but that's not where the priority lies right now. And it's brutal, mate. It must be brutal. I've already said this and I'll say it again. I really do feel sorry for anybody who works for Manchester United. Imagine how much of a dream it would be for a lot of people to work for Manchester United. But, don't know. Let me see what you're saying down here in the comments again. Ratcliffe and Barada are bringing our costs down to the Europa League level. They are realistic but more ambitious to bring us back again. And this is something that I argue with people, and you get hot-headed and it goes back and forth. None of this is geared towards making Jim Ratcliffe money. None of this is geared towards making Ineos money. It is in the long term, sure, but that's a long-term thing. Of course. He didn't buy 27% United out of the goodness of his heart. Like any billionaire, he wants to make more money. That's what billionaires do. There is not one good billionaire in the world. That's why they're billionaires. Bombshell moment. But all of these decisions are geared towards making United more cost efficient. So therefore, United could spend more money. But going down to that point there, right, morale at staff is low because of those botched decisions. And that is a big part of it as well. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again now. Do you really think that if Manchester United were, let's call it 7th in the table, 6th or 7th, do you really feel that the energy among the fan base to get as angry about this sort of stuff would exist at the same level? I don't think it would. I think all of these cuts, hearing about cartons of screws and portion sizes going down at Carrington and sellotape being sent back because we don't need it. The optics of it all are horrible. But it's all exacerbated by the fact that we are 15th, the fact that we are not winning games of football, and the fact that on the pitch there is no reprieve. That's the issue. And on top of the fact, 3 things. Number 1, they ballsed up the Ten Hag decision. Number 2, they ballsed up the Ashworth decision. And number 3, the unconsulted ticket price rises. All of those things combined into a pot makes some sort of shitty brew. And that's where the United fan base is right now. And that's why stuff like this is you're laughing at it a lot more. And something that was a real strange one from that article yesterday was, I'll put it up here, was the fact that Jim Ratcliffe met with Katie Zalem, who was United's captain at the time for the women's team, and didn't know who she was. Asked what she did at the club. And I've commented on it, which is kind of what I do sometimes. And I said it's really not a good look. In fact, it's a horrendous look for somebody who's just bought 27% of Manchester United, because it is. And then the response was, well, Sam, so many people don't know who. Like, if you ask like 100 United fans, they wouldn't know who she was. Like, if you even ask them, the players, I don't care. I do not care about that. Like, he owns 27% of the football club. You need to know that far more than any regular United fan does. So don't try and pretend that you can associate what a regular United fan might know to what somebody who owns 27% of the football club knows. It's like comparing apples and pears. Apples and pears? Apples and oranges. Let me go down and read a few more of your comments here. Unfortunately, Sam, the only chance of good news from United will be results on the pitch, and I'll speak about Everton game very shortly. Andy talking about, it's simple to me, what makes more money? These cuts or back in the team and getting Champions League football? Don't fix the windows when the house is falling down. But Andy, you make it sound like both things don't happen at the exact same time. And this is the thing. Like marginal gains, we go back to the old Brailsford saying. I'll speak about Brailsford in a bit. These cuts have to exist at the same time as the team is supported. Both of those things happen at the exact same time. And they both need to happen at the same time. And Aiswell saying, are we talking about Zalem because it was his first day that he did the tour? It's not really deep. Dude, when you own 27% of the club, you sit down there. You sit down, you sit there and physically do all the research yourself. Have someone that helps you with that. I mean, you can pretend otherwise, but it's just a very, very odd thing. A couple of super chats here, and then I'll move on to speak about this article from the Daily Mail and a couple more interesting points from that. Miles saying, Sam, in my opinion, if Jim did put money in, we would only have been... So if what you're saying there, if Jim Ratcliffe didn't put his £18 million in, we'd only have 15 million cash in the bank, which... This is the thing, like, you hear about people... I go back to it, people saying, oh, I can spend 300 million this summer, 400 million this summer. We've got all the money. It's like, where do you fashion this money from? We've got literally like 90 million in the bank, which is your liquid cash. And for a company the size of United, you need cash in the bank because you don't know what's going to happen. Something will happen. You need to have the liquidity to be able to pay for it from a safety perspective as a business. So you can't spend all that on players. We've got a limited amount of money in the credit card, and we also owe £150 million this summer for credit card payments getting called in. It's like, where do you fashion this money from? Where in your like fantasy mind do you think United have got all those hundreds from? But the chickens are coming home to roost this summer, man. 150 million we owe other clubs this summer already for players that we've already signed. How are you going to figure that into a cash flow and spend the money that we need? That's why the Europa League, boy, oh boy, we need the Europa League. Akash is saying, with the US dollar strengthening, it also means United debt is going to get more expensive to serve post-2027. I'm speaking about that next. All right, that's going to be probably a video I'll do separately. But in terms of what the Daily Mail is saying, all right, Mike Keegan, I'm going to run through just some points here, right? This part here at the top is about Dan Ashworth. The fact that due diligence was an issue. Ashworth was viewed as best in class. The problem, according to insiders, was that they did not see examples of that expertise stretching beyond British shores. And effectively what they're saying, that while Ashworth had a very good stature inside the UK and all of his experience there with the FA, with Newcastle, with West Brom, and with Brighton, what they're suggesting is that when the conversations pushed past just the UK, it was found that Ashworth was limited. And I'm going to speak about Dave Brailsford soon. But that right there
is such a catastrophic mistake. Because like Dan Ashworth, Dan Ashworth is not a bad sporting director. But Dan Ashworth was clearly not the right fit for what we wanted to do. So therefore, that's just down to the due diligence of choosing the right people to do the right jobs to fit into the right environment. And obviously, that was not done with Dan Ashworth. Right? And this is an interesting one here. So I've pulled up two sort of contrasting quotes from two people who worked inside United, right? First one here. Jim and Ineos are delivering medicine. They see United as a poorly patient. They either act now or things get even worse. And the staff are reacting like anyone who takes medicine. It doesn't taste nice. It makes you grimace, but you hope it works. And then you look at the contrasting opinion straight below it. Some of those who have left the building have a blunter view. At the outset, one declared, "This makes the Glazers look like Saint Nick." And look, we all hope it works. No United fan is looking at all these cuts going, "Oh, it's fantastic, these cuts. Oh, it's so great." Everyone's looking at these cuts going, "I hope this leads to a better, more sustainable environment, football club and football team." And we do hope it works. And that part there, right, I've been thinking about this. This makes the Glazers look like Saint Nick. Do you know why it makes the Glazers look like Saint Nick? Because the Glazers were negligent. Their financial negligence and mismanagement of this football club and using the cash and taking dividends out and putting spending on the credit card and not growing revenues despite growing costs. All of that is negligence. And because you're negligent, you're sitting in the background. You're not doing anything. So then when somebody comes along and tries to clean up the shit that's been left, they're the ones that take the bullets. And a lot of this, that's probably how I would personally overview Ineos' first year. I do genuinely think in quite a lot of ways United are in a worse position than they were before Ineos came in. However, now whether or not the CEO works with Omar Berrada and whether or not Chris Favell works as the lead sort of director of recruitment, or whether or not Jason Wilcox does work, we've actually got a football structure in place. Now, the structure hasn't been working yet, so the proof is, of course, in the pudding. But at least that is in. Football-wise, we're in an abysmal position because Ineos themselves made a grave error in giving Ten Hag that contract extension and then bringing Amorim in mid-season. And, I was thinking about this before the show. You know how we talk about Ruben Amorim, we talk about playing 3 at the back versus playing 4 at the back and how big of a problem that is. It's not really about that, is it? The biggest problem that we've got from going from Erik Ten Hag to Ruben Amorim is the fact that Ten Hag basically built his system on United hitting as fast as possible on the counter-attack with as few passes as possible. Direct, over the top, using pace and using power. And that was how Ten Hag and that's how he wanted United to be the best transitional team in the world. Build up really rapidly. Ruben Amorim's the total opposite. He'd rather United got used to just having the ball at their feet. Not playing at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Obviously not playing at 2 miles an hour, but building through patience and patterns. And that's the big contrast between Ten Hag and Amorim, rather than playing 3 at the back. And that's where the squad is sort of struggling so much with it. But as much as I think that Ineos have got the Ashworth decision wrong, the Ten Hag decision wrong, and now some of the problems that they have caused are causing issues, I'm still looking at them going, yeah, they are cleaning up a hell of a lot of mess that the Glazers have left behind. And they are dealing out medicine that needed to be. I think that's a pretty fair way to describe it. No one likes having medicine. Does make you feel better eventually. Not always. Let me see what you're saying down here. Stephanie's saying blame game settings, but Ineos should have known this. They were the Glazers' strategic investment. Yeah, Ineos are far from blameless, and this is not me. So people try and say, "Oh, Sam, you're in Ineos' back pocket, mate." If I was in Ineos' back pocket, I'd be earning a lot more. I'm not affiliated with anybody. I've not got any direct links to any player or the club. I want what is best for my football club. Ultimately, that is the Glazers gone, and ultimately that is the Glazers debt gone. And again, I don't do these live shows. Well, I'm not doing these live shows right now. I'm not doing it just to fill the room with doom and gloom. But everybody remember that I will cover stories as fairly and as accurately as I possibly can. And this is just the news around United right now. These are just the stories that are floating that need to be discussed. Yeah, maybe I would build my new house, Rex. Man, I'm getting such... Moving house is never fun. I've had some mad stuff happen in my personal life, which hopefully I can tell you a bit more about in a few weeks' time. Fingers crossed. I've got a hell of a story for you, but we'll see. Anyway, this is from Bloomberg, and this is from David Hellier, and it's about the finances, and there is a specific part in here about the debt. Now, this is something that we need to hold the club accountable to, because we've got deadlines and we've got dates and we've got numbers and we've got facts. It's not about speculation or anything. This is happening, all right? There's another more precarious deadline. Manchester United have more than £700 million worth of financial debt at the end of December. Of course, we owe £300 million in transfer fees too. A good chunk of that debt is made up by $425 million privately placed bonds that need to be paid back in June 2027. So just over 2 years, United are going to have to pay back $425 million. Currently, the interest rates on those bonds are 3.8%. There are two ways that United get out of that. Well, one's not really a get out. It's more of a kick in a can down the road. But number one, if you've got $425 million worth of bonds that you need to pay back in June 2027, you pay them back. Simple solution, if you've got the money. Or number two, and this is where the danger lies, you could refinance it. Now, I believe this is what United have done before. And this is why the issue of the debt has never gone down, because the bonds and the debt keep... I think that's what it was, the bond issue. Remember the green and gold protest? Was that in 2010? I think that was. That's when new bonds were issued. Right now, the interest rate on that debt, on those bonds, is 3.8% on 425 million. If that were to go up to 7%, which is what City right now are paying for their loans, then all of a sudden I've got the numbers here. You go up from 3.8% of 425 million is $16.15 million, right? If that goes up to 7%, that rises to 29.75 million. It nearly doubles. And that's just on interest payments. So if we don't pay that back in 2027 and we refinance it, the debt's just going to go up again. So that's going to be a real contentious point and a real sort of tentpole date that we can't forget as fans, and we have to keep trying to get information and trying to see if we can get any sort of communication out of the club. But that's terrifying. Mike's saying this is scaremongering. They are using the rates based on today's interest values. It's highly likely by the time, of course, the rates should go down. But it's not scaremongering at all. I'm not sitting there saying that it is going to be 7%. I'm saying as it stands, if it was to be refinanced now. But this is the problem about refinancing. Refinancing bonds is just kicking the can down the road. You've got one that lasts for 5 years, and in 5 years' time, you've got no intention of ever paying it back. You just restart again at probably a slightly higher interest rate, or maybe lower, depending on what the market economies have done. It's just it's never paying the debt off. It's just keeping the debt going. Man, the banks must love United, man. The banks must love us. Of course they do. Made $1 billion out of just literally letting us use money that we're not going to pay back for them. King Canton, are you saying there's no way that we pay that back by 2027? I would love to think that there's a possibility that Ineos would pay that debt back in return, or would pay that amount of money in return for a higher share equity-wise. That would be a great scenario if that was to happen. But, I mean, it feels unlikely, but that's a possibility. The possibilities are you just refinance, you go for another rate, you go for another deal, and you get another 5-year bond, and then you continue doing what you're doing. Number 2 is you get outside investment that pays that off. I don't think that would really be a case. So number 3, you pay it off, and it's not going to be the Glazers that pay it off. So it would have to come from Ineos. And bear in mind, in 2 and a bit years' time, we are going to be fully deep into conversations around the stadium. If not already constructing something. Well, imagine, you would think by June 2027. Nick, you're saying, could it be part of the stadium project? It's something's got to happen to it, because simply just refinancing it will not help Manchester United at all and just keep putting us in a worse position. And look, I was going to have a conversation in today's show as well about Dave Brailsford. I've said pretty much since the start. I said, look, I understand why Dave Brailsford is involved, especially at the beginning when we had no CEO. When we had no sporting director, we were waiting for gardening leaves and stuff like that. I understood why he was there, to help set everything up. But Dave Brailsford, and again, this is from The Athletic this morning, this bit here, right? Dave Brailsford has ended up becoming more prominently involved than he or anyone else envisaged. He's actually even more involved on top of that after Dan Ashworth has left. And it's just... And you're saying you don't understand why he's still involved. I can understand it from a performance culture perspective. In isolation. Making sure that Carrington is the absolute best environment it can possibly be for the athletes, for the players. Working with them, seeing what tweaks and marginal gains you can get directly with the performance environment, the performance culture. I still think that Dave Brailsford can offer something in that, but the fact of the matter is, and this is something I feared from the beginning, and it's something that's only becoming more and more apparent, is that Dave Brailsford is he's involved in too much at United. I think it's because he's a person that Ratcliffe trusts. And Ratcliffe wants his man on the ground. And Superstar is saying too many cooks. He's just the wrong cook. It almost feels like he's there as a bit of not as a spy for Ratcliffe, but he's the man on the ground. He's the man that he can trust to tell him what's really going on. Well, if you hire a CEO, you have to trust your CEO. It's exactly why you hire your CEO. Otherwise, it's crap delegation, and you won't really be successful in business. Ratcliffe and Ineos, of course, are very successful in business. And a lot of the times in buying and acquiring businesses that aren't doing well and helping turn them around. But it's... I haven't really liked how involved Dave Brailsford... I didn't mind it at the start. I understood it at the start. Oh, my God, that one there. Feels like he's too involved, but it even feels like he's going to get more and more involved, because you go down here, you read this bit at the bottom. Dave Brailsford's family is now moving from Monaco to Manchester. And the fact that Ashworth has left, means that he's more and more involved. Yes, Richard, I know. This did used to be a football channel. And you know what? We will speak about football now. But it's just, in conclusion, I feel like I'm presenting a bloody essay. I didn't expect the first year to go swimmingly. I knew there were going to be speed bumps. Dave Brailsford ballsed up massive. If we're talking about like root cause analysis, and I like to do that, Dave Brailsford is the one that messed up by just going all in for Dan Ashworth and then bringing him into the environment and going, actually, this isn't the right blend. Ashworth with Barada and Wilcox, it doesn't work. Balls. I've messed up there. And the Ten Hag decision to keep him on. I think Jason Wilcox was involved heavily in that because Dan Ashworth wasn't, I don't think, in by that point. But I'm sure Dan Ashworth was still involved. Of course he was. He would have been in the group chat. Massive, massive botch. So the decision to hire Ashworth, botch. The decision to keep Erik Ten Hag, botch. The decision to attack the fans directly with the unconsulted ticket price rises, like such a massive, massive botch from Ineos and Ratcliffe. Like, it wouldn't matter how much they would gain from that. Undoing the relationship with fans is just not what an owner should ever do. You need support from within. And they had support from within. And now they're losing it by going after the fans themselves. And that's just botches all over the shop. I wanted it to go better in the first year. Do I think it's going to get better? Well, it can't really get much worse. Of course, it can get much worse, let's be honest. But I don't know whether it will. All in all, in fact, yeah, I'll ask that in the comments before I move on to Everton. The last 10 minutes of the show, I promise we're going to speak about football. What would you rate Ineos' first year at United? Rate it out of 10. I can't do 10 options in the poll, so there's no point doing a poll. But what would you rate it out of 10? I'd probably give it I think I'd probably give it a 4. 3? 4. I'll probably give it a 4. Let me see what you're saying in the comments. Steve and Piganeros and Stephen and Kevin, you're all saying 5. Sue, you're saying 6. Toby is saying 4. Quite a few of you are saying 4. So have a look at this. We've got Leroy, we've got Nikhil, we've got Musa, Andy Pandey. Armistice, saying all these saying 4. Don't know. We'll find out. It's not gone to plan. And it's not as if we could afford fuck-ups before. But we really can't now. Like, we really, really, really cannot. This summer, we've got to hit the bullseye with our signings. Every single one of them has got to be a player that comes in and goes, my God, that is a top-level signing. Look how much that's helped this club. Behind the scenes, they can't afford any more balls-ups. Are we getting a sporting director in or not? I don't know. It's still a bit of smoke and mirrors. They can't afford any more balls-ups. Financially, they literally can't. And, of course, all the cuts that are coming. What about the season ticket prices? Are they going to go up? The Daily Mail is suggesting not, but we'll find out. Let's talk about the footy, all right? Which will cheer us up until we actually get to like 12:45 on Saturday. We're 15 minutes into the game. We're 1-0 down against Everton, and we're like, well, why do we want football back? All right. What's your prediction and expectation for the game on Saturday? All right. Everton are in a good moment. Play 5, won 3, drawn 1, only lost 1. The last game at Goodison Park was against Liverpool, and that last-minute equaliser from Tarkowski. I tell you what, it was an entertaining game to watch. Foul show. But David Moyes has got him playing. Beto's got 4 in 4. Decore in midfield is going to be an absolute, almost like an impossibility for us to handle. Their physicality in the middle is just going to be dangerous. They will press us, and we know that we can't really play through the press. So how do you negate that? How do you get through that?
3-1 Everton says Rex. 1-1 says Jedi. 2-0 loss says someone down there. Stu saying 2-1 win. Kevin, you're saying a sneaky 2-1-2. Not 2-1-2. 2-1 win as well. 7-0 says Kieran. We'll take our chances. What? That really is it. And that's what I said in my preview yesterday. I was like, I could tell you about all the tactical changes and tweaks and positional movements and runs that need to be made. Like, truth be told, if we play exactly like we did against Spurs, I know it wasn't the most impressive performance, but if we play exactly like we did against Spurs and we just finish our chances, we win the game of football. And that's without really needing to improve. It's just about finishing. My predicted 11 for the game was this, right? I've gone for Yoro to come in at right-sided centre-back and Mazraoui to play over there. So it's just, I think, Yoro in for De Ligt. I've kept Delo as a right wing-back because I don't really think there's anybody else who can play there. Now that Ahmad's out for the season, who else plays at right wing-back? Answer on a postcard. Dorgu, of course, keeping his place. It was Dorgu and Xerxes who were the most impressive against Spurs last week. In midfield, I don't like it. I've got Eriksen and Bruno. I'm fully aware how inappropriate that is. But that is on the assumption that Collier and Ugarte are both injured. If either of those aren't injured, I would play both of them here. You know what I really, really would... Almost like... Desperate's a bit strong to see, but I would love to see this if everyone was fit. And we don't know. Maybe they will be. Maybe Collier and Ugarte and their absence was sort of precautionary rather than being a severe injury. We know that Mainu's going to be missing. But just that, right? I know that Bruno has been doing a job for his manager. Eriksen and Yoro are both expected to be fit for this game. I think they both had just illnesses rather than anything else. I've seen enough. I knew it already, but there was a game, I can't remember what game it was, where I was watching, was it Rangers? Might have been Rangers. Watching Bruno playing deeper, and I'm like, oh, he actually looks like he's playing the game slightly slower, slightly better. Nah, man, sod it. Get Bruno as close to the opposition's goal as possible and just keep him there. Just keep him there, please. And that's why I'm going for, and even on paper, there's going to be United fans that will be pissed off at this. What do you mean we're playing 5 at the back and we're playing 2 holding midfielders in Ugarte and Collier? This is about how you adapt the system right now for our circumstances. That's about the personnel that probably will protect us a bit more. And also, you get the single best playmaker and goal scorer that this team has by some margin, and you get him closer to the opposition's goal. Because if you play him there, Bruno will create, and it's a guarantee, basically, 2, maybe 3 gilt-edged chances. Jonas is saying Bruno can't stick to a position, he drifts around too much. Well, if you're getting Bruno to play as a central midfielder one game, and then the next game you're getting Bruno Fernandes to play a central midfield position, but you're asking him to man mark and drift over, you're going to get him drifting, man. And Bruno has played in a variety of different roles, positions, circumstances, and his position has kind of changed. I would love for Ruben Amorim to be able to say to Bruno, you know what, Bruno? All I want you to do is stay in, let's call it, that area of the pitch there. If you want to, you can drop back a little bit deeper to receive the ball, but don't drop back too far. Just kind of stay towards the halfway line. But ultimately, I want you being that connector between the midfield and the attack. That's where we are going to get the best of Bruno. That's where we've always got the best of Bruno. But right now, when we don't have a midfield, Bruno's playing deeper. And if you're looking at weaknesses and problems in Bruno's game, you don't want those towards your own goal. And we can't score enough. And we're creating some, but we can't create enough. Just get Bruno towards the opposition's goal. That's all I'm saying. Højlund's been putting in stinkers all season. And this is from somebody who
I saw enough of a player in Højlund in his first season. It wasn't perfect, but no one's first season at United is perfect. We all know that. I saw enough in that first season to think, you know what, Højlund's got something there. And he's just regressed. He's just regressed massively. Confidence is at an all-time low. Can't touch the ball. It's like his foot's allergic to a first touch. And it's just strange. Xerxes definitely got to start in one of the attacking midfield roles. All right? That's what I think. Let me see what you're saying in the comments. The problem with that is if we are losing, he can start to go overboard instead of using his head. He does get certainly caught up in emotions in games. And that's always been an issue for Bruno. He almost plays like a fan, doesn't he? Which is good when you're winning. Not so good when you're losing. Garnacho Hattie, he loves Everton. Well, we'll find out. Two combative midfielders, but we need to put Garnacho at right wing back. Garnacho at right wing back. Is that something anybody's actually said? Not sure I like that. I mean, I don't like Delo at right wing back either, so let's be totally honest. I wouldn't mind that. Either way, we're going to find out from Ruben Amorim about team news. Or if you're Ruben Amorim, let's be totally honest, we'll find nothing out in the press conference. He surely doesn't want Moyes to know whether Ugarte is fit, whether Collier is fit, whether Eriksen is fit, whether Yoro is fit. Well, we know that Mainoo's not fit. But if Ruben Amorim does what I would do, he won't give any confirmation on any player in the lunchtime press conference. He'll keep he'll keep the fans guessing, but he will keep David Moyes guessing. Because it will change how United play and how United are able to play, depending on what players are back from injuries or not. Nino the Garnacho banger, settle for a tap-in. Bruno's an issue, becoming more so, says Ant. I look at Bruno now and I understand exactly what people mean because he's had a massively indifferent season. But I will stand firm in saying that when United play well and United win, invariably, a majority of the time it's because of Bruno Fernandes. I think if you have an actual settled, combative, dominant, athletic, monsters out of possession and in possession midfield duo behind Bruno, and you can just say to him, you don't need to worry about your own half anymore. I know you've been doing that over the last couple of years. Don't worry about it. You just stay fixed in one of these two number 10 positions. You can come back when you need to, but just focus on what's ahead of you in the pitch and what's in front of you rather than what's behind, which is not something that Bruno's been able to do at United for a good while now because we have been crap. Either way, it's 12:30 on Saturday, so it has a chance to ruin your weekend or make your weekend. It would be nice if we won. Would be nice if we won. Right. Thank you all for sticking with me after yesterday. I need a shave. Yeah. I grew a goatee once. I thought it was a good idea. I blame my friends and family, really, for allowing that to happen. Because it did not look good. Anyway, last couple of minutes. Please let me know where you're watching from. It's the map day. It's Friday. So let me know what town you're watching from, what city, what town or city or village. I don't really mind. And what country. Both of those two. And I'll get a few of you added onto the map. Because we've got Dungarvan in Ireland. We've got Barwell in Leicester. We've got Braga in Portugal. Kristiansand in Norway. We've got Ypres in Belgium. Went on there on a history school trip. Fun fact. We've got Kathmandu in Nepal. South Africa as well. Listonvana as well. Ooh, loads. Someone saying, where's Mason Mount? I don't know what Mason Mount is. What even is a Mason Mount? It's like a rare spotted Mason Mount. Rex, you're watching from Reigate. Is Reigate near Margate? No gates anywhere. Is there even a gate in Reigate? I'm going to be listening to, what's his face? Plan B. What's he called? There's a tune about Forest Gate. I used to like Plan B. We've got Krishna watching from Fukuoka.
Fukuoka? Oh, no. Man, the amount I annihilate pronunciations on this. You can make a little clip of that. Don't know. We've got Leo watching from Kakovec in Croatia. Let's get one more on the map. We've got Tishane watching from Manchester in Jamaica, man. Sorry, that was bad, wasn't it? It's a place called Manchester Middlesex in Jamaica. It's quite funny. Look, you're added onto the map. Thank you all for tuning in. It's been a rough week. It's been rough. Please, United, just win a game of football. Please, Ruben, just win a game of football. It is amazing how much less energy negative people have when the football is being won. But when the football isn't being won, oh my God, they come out like guns akimbo. Take it easy, everybody. Have a cracking weekend. I'll be here. I might do a lunchtime video today. I might not, because if there's not something that I feel is worth your time, and I don't want to sort of like drag it down into negativity, then I won't do it. We'll figure it out. Anyway, I'll see you after the game tomorrow for sure.